To talk somewhat about Allegro's claims about the whole Christian faith, the Christian religion, that Jesus actually did not exist as we believe he did, nor did the apostles. That they were more so just the secret code names for different plants, maybe Amanita muscaria. Now there was a lot. I mean, the Catholic Church did not disagreed with Allegro, and there was also people working in the drug field, such as Jonathan Ott, Wasson, that disregarded his findings. But I know that you revitalized his work. You've checked it over again. Could you please talk a little bit of what holds with Allegro's findings and what?
Well, that's a very good question. I've actually just completed a new article called "The Schism: Wasson versus Allegro," where psychoactive substances involved in the foundation of Christianity, and looking at the attacks from Wasson and Ott on Allegro, etc., in his research. And basically what I found was that Wasson made up all of his attacks, and when we went back through and actually verified every single reference and footnote in Allegro's book to the original source, all of the sources checked out, and all of the errors that were in fact related back to Wasson, Schultes, Puharich, and some of Wasson's other friends. So it's kind of interesting that Wasson attacked Allegro. Now, the biggest attack on Allegro by Wasson was the argument by Irvin Panofsky, and Michael Hoffman and I collaborated on an article last year that totally debunked the Panofsky interpretation. Basically, what Irvin Panofsky was arguing as an art historian was that even though mushrooms look exactly like mushrooms, they're really stylized Italian pine trees. But what Irvin Panofsky still failed to recognize was that the pine trees are exactly what the Amanita grows underneath in symbiotic relationship with the roots. And the entire argument was based on the assumption that mycologists don't read art books. But the art historians failed to recognize in their argument that art historians do not read mycology books. So the argument was really a very silly, baseless assertion by Wasson and Panofsky. And what happened was in December 1953, Wasson sent Professor Ramsbottom at the London Botanical Museum a letter stating that the interpretation of the Plain Corault of France, rightly or wrongly, was going to be disregarded as a mushroom. Well, when Allegro was writing The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, he came across Wasson's letter in Ramsbottom's second edition of the book in an addendum on page 48. And basically what Allegro did to discredit Wasson was to quote his own words, rightly or wrongly, we're going to discredit the Amanita or the Plain Corault as Amanita. So Wasson's entire argument was based on an assertion by an art historian who didn't study mycology and didn't know the facts of the history surrounding the matter. And Wasson himself had actually refused to study entheogens in Christianity, which we show in the new article. He had actually come out and attacked Allegro because Allegro was willing to go into Christianity and study it. What Wasson argued was that the use of mushrooms was limited to the book of Genesis and 1000 BCE, long before Christian origins. So his position was very safe. He didn't want to threaten Christianity, and what we later found out was that Wasson was actually an account manager when he was vice president of J.P. Morgan, the banking company. He was account manager to the Vatican and worked directly with the Pope. We can't say that he had that this had a direct influence on his research and his findings, but it's highly suggestive that that Wasson, working with the Pope, intentionally limited his research. And when Allegro refused to be restrained by Wasson's 1000 BCE limitation, and Allegro, being a Dead Sea Scrolls expert, just decided to go around Wasson and study the mushrooms into Christianity, and dismissed Wasson based on his own shaky letter to Ramsbottom. Unfortunately, none of that ever got out to the public, and Wasson lied about it and covered it up until his death, and made up lies that we show in this new article that others like Ott repeated. And unfortunately, Allegro took the brunt of the blame for errors that Wasson had made and these other researchers had made that weren't his fault. And so, you know, that's I'm glad you asked that, because it gave me a chance to go into this latest research. But there was one other point that you had asked me to go into. Can you remind me what that was?
Well, the thing is, Allegro makes some significant theories about the whole Christian religion. What he says, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, is that
right.
never existed, that the apostles, their names are code names for Amanita Muscaria, most likely, or different.
Right. Well, probably the most difficult part of Allegro's theory is the code names part. Now, was there a mushroom cult in Christianity? I absolutely believe he was correct on that. Professor Carl Ruck from Boston University has shown that, beyond a doubt, Allegro was correct on that. Where we differ from Allegro, and Allegro was more of a pioneer. He was really one of the first to really seriously look at it. And so some of the things that we agree on are that we agree that Jesus is an anthropomorphism of the mushroom. We do agree with that. However, we also believe that the mushroom, or that the sun is an anthropomorphism, that there are many other correlations taken from other religions that are also made a part of the Jesus story, and not just the mushroom itself. So I think that Allegro was right in that the apostles were not real characters. We argue in our book that the 12 apostles were the 12 signs of the zodiac, and that Jesus is the sun in the sky on the macrocosm, with a symbolic microcosmic relationship with the mushroom on the microcosm. So we approach that area